gathering of, not the gathering of the masters, but the Wounded Womb trilogy, by ending off this point, I want to be more interactive, a little bit more tenderer, so that the sisters don't believe that we arguing and yelling and screaming is somehow me pounding the chauvinist stick to get their attention. It's not that at all. Sisters who have been with me, sisters who know me, based on the healing work that I do to teach people how to heal themselves, know that everything I do is from the heart. So when I speak and I sound like I'm angry, it's only that I'm angry at the situation and not at my sisters. Please. You know, that would be ridiculous. That's counterproductive in its own right spiritually. And I would get that back. But I am happy to say that a lot of what we have coming up in the near future around the consciousness that's being raised in sisters today is based upon sisters now becoming more knowledgeable of the principles in the Wounded Womb.
That's right.
You see, and the Wounded Womb, I've been told by sisters who have read it, and I'm so happy that they read it. They said that this is an important work. I did it because I felt it was necessary, it was from the heart, but now they've embraced it. So I want this to be available to the sisters. I have asked, and again, Brother Azariah's help, and the Most High has sent him, and we're going to get this work done. Now, let's move on to the events in front of us. First things first, at the gathering of the masters, by the way, at the back of this little flyer here, I have a few flyers to the event that will be available for you. If you want to get some before you leave, fine, you can take the information. At the back will be the times that we'll be speaking. The whole event is being set down. You can write in or call in. These are MasterCard, I believe, whatever it is. They're going to hook it up. At the event, I'm going to be speaking about two things. I did something called the light code transmissions. And I'm not sure anyone has even seen this particular tape. The light code transmissions is one of the more heavier metaphysical tapes. That's where I break down the Stargate. And where I took the movie and showed you that the movie was actually out of the book of Daniel. And everything in the book of Daniel was in the book, in the movie Stargate. And every word, every action, everything that the hero and the villain did is in that particular book. And I would suggest you get the tape called The Light Code Transmissions and the Key to Melanin Pathologies. I'm doing Light Code 2 in Atlanta. And then the following day, I will be doing a topic on the new mind control. It's called the manipulation of instinct and the biochemical destruction of consciousness. I will be showing you how this devious beasthood, because it's not a priesthood anymore, it's a beasthood. We'll be talking about how the beasthood and the geneticists have set about not only conditioning you through behaviorisms anymore, because that's going to become costly. They're not even going to use chips or any more trauma control. They will be changing you. The infrastructural archetypal nature will be controlled based upon the new programming, and it will begin in these past 2 generations to the next generations with the food that has been perverted and changed. Now, I have a short amount here where Sister had typed up for me the hidden names of MSG. And when you begin to understand and understand what MSG really does to the body, especially to the physiology of the woman, you will have to understand and understand that it is necessary for you sisters at this particular point in this continuum in the battle, in the war, to check everything that goes into your mouths. Because they're continuing the process of degenerating your womb, because they know through the degeneration of the womb, the degeneration of the next genus, because they are going to classify you, first of all, as a subspecies based upon the Caucasian. The eugenicists have classified you as a subspecies and a genus offshoot of a lower breed and a lower order of human. And that then conditions their own behaviorisms. They condition themselves by talking about you as an inferior entity. And then it's easier for them to begin to deal with this diabolical work when they know that you're not human, when they sense you're not human, when they feel you're not human. So the way that they have now understood that they can control you as a population is to degenerate the physiological structure, to degenerate the microbe, to degenerate the molecule, to change the spin orientation of the atom so that it now matches a new behaviorism, which creates a new type of species. Easier to control, easier for you, because now they no longer have to program your behaviorisms. Your behaviorisms will be based on the instinct that was programmed 2 and 3 generations ago. So with every one of the next 3 or 4 videos I do, I will precede my talk with this particular thing around the MSG and how they have perverted the specific molecule to become a free radical that damages and destroys tissue, DNA, damages and destroys molecules, destroys spin orientations for the molecules, spin orientations for the cellular structure, creating specific disease conditions that gives them the condition to further put in different types of chemicals to change you so that the next 3 or 4 generations you won't even recognize your children as human. They will be putting on certain activities. They will be doing certain things that you would say, well, damn, we didn't do that before. And it will be commonplace behavior because the conditioning has already begun with the computer in your schools and with these particular stores that are coming up selling food that are only available in the black community. That's right. Only available in the black community. And I've done my road test to show that these specific drinks, there are specific beers, there's specific types of foods, specific type of chicken, specific types of everything that is sold only in this community. That's right. And that is not an accident. So I don't know how many here, beloved, but of the hidden names for MSG, if you could pass them on, or if someone could take it and make more copies. I couldn't get any more copies than this, but I want to put this on the record for you. And I will be putting this on the record again in every one of the programs that I do from now on. All right? And if you do have the chance, beloved, take copies of it. Let me have one. That's all right. Let me have one of those copies then, so I don't have to go digging for it. There are, no, I don't need 2. There are specific types of foodstuffs that are coming into the natural healing community that have been prepared by the Beasthood. We have been eating all the food that we think is the analog to beef, the analog to chicken. Let's just have us a tofu this, or a tofu chicken this, and a textured this, and a textured that. Not understanding and understanding that the Beasthood has created your food dynamic as the precursor to breaking down the archetypal structures of your archetypal instincts. When you lose instinct, everything else is lost. Whenever a society or a civilization or even a species loses its instincts, that is the precursor to their destruction. Let me repeat that. Whenever an animal, society, or any living entity loses the archetypal instincts that orders its living, orders its behaviorism so that it can interface with nature and thus survive, that species is headed for extinction. They are now setting it up so that your particular reality will no longer match. That's why they are so bent on virtual reality. Because the virtual reality syntax, the virtual reality context will become your everyday reality. Because now your instincts are going to be trained to ignore the true reality. It will be so numb you cannot even interface with nature, thus cannot interface with your spirit, and thus you will be interfacing only with the reality that they will have created, thus the virtual reality. There is no more mind control like you think mind control will be coming down. So we could talk about chips, we could talk about trauma-based mind control, but that mind control will be obsolete within the next 10 years. When you understand from this next lecture I will be doing down at the Gathering of the Masters, how they will be doing it, you will understand that mind control in this particular arena is God control. We've gone beyond mind control now. We into God control. So now when you start dealing with the consciousness of an entity and now you program the behavior through their instincts, not through what is from the outside in, but from what you program of yourself inside out based upon how they're mapping the new human, you're fucked. So, if you look at the new hidden names that they have for MSG, it is necessary for you sisters especially who are out there buying for your families that you do not help this beasthood in the systematic destruction of your DNA integrity. Some of the hidden names for MSG is calcium caseinate, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, monopotassium glutamate, yeast extract, autolyzed plant protein, glutamic acid, autolyzed yeast, anything that has gelatin in it, texturized protein, hydrolyzed plant protein, glutamate, yeast foods or any yeast nutrients, sodium caseinate. Now, mind control and genetic colonization of your consciousness, genetic colonization of your consciousness is in full swing. And I'm saying this to the sisters because now y'all got all the money. Now y'all on the buy-in. How do y'all buy? Y'all buy from emotion, not intellect. Y'all buy what you feel, what's been good and what's been doing, and oh yeah, well this is it, this, get me this, and this. Oh, that's nice, that looks pretty, that looks good, do that, do that, do that. Now you got to use the other side of your brain, sisters. You can't just use the right anymore when you start shopping. You got to use the left.
That's right.
Now you got to start becoming more logical with what it is you do at this point because you are the target. You are the target, sisters. You've always been the target. For instance, when you see labels with the words autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed protein, or whey protein, the products contain a large percentage of monosodium glutamate and other irritating neurotoxins. They're called excitotoxins. That's what the legal name is. MSG is also in canned tuna, salad dressing, your seasoning salts, vitamins, and gel caps. Oh, wait a minute now. I'm thinking I need to go to get my vitamins to deal with my this and my that because Reverend Valentine said I need to get my vitamins over here and to eat just right over here. Well, I'm upgrading the information now. And it's time that you understand that we are under attack from a whole new subtle form of warfare. It is in the food chain. That's why Monsanto bought up all the damn seeds. Because now they can pervert, they understand what food is. And you remember in my last documentation that I told you that food was a form of communication, that eating is a form of communication. That if you pervert the medium for that particular communication, or at least the lines of communication, which is that which you prepare, take, and put into your mouth, that eating process is a line of communication. When you begin to stir those juices up in your mouth, those particular taste senses are actually sending communication to your digestive system, alerting the digestive system to what it is that's about to be prepared for it. So when you begin to pervert the food source, and your body is so attuned to its archetypal nature that it will immediately recognize what is real and what is not real. But because you don't know no better based upon your perverted taste buds, You ain't going to know what it is you're eating, and your body will accept it, and then eventually you will begin to genetically pervert yourself so that you can accept that food. You hear what I just said?
Yeah.
So the food will be communicating what the beasthood wants you to become in the next 2 or 3 generations. Now this sounds crazy. That's because when I say things 3, 4, 5 years from now, you say, hey, guess what? You know, Valentine, you know, I remember what you said 3, 4, 5 years ago. But by that time, it's too damn late. If you ain't acted on it now. Don't think that I'm crazy and I'm out to lunch because I say all kind of crazy things when you see I'm up here. Take it into consideration, process the information, check it for yourself, but don't just think I'm crazy. Check it for yourself. Toxic reactions taken from between 10 minutes and 48 hours to occur. Now when you eat any kind of MSG, sisters, it takes from 10 minutes to 48 hours for reactions to occur. So you don't know why it is that your cycle just came all of a sudden. You say, what the hell was that? Why is it here so soon?
That's right.
What's the matter with me? Why do I keep these headaches? Why do I have such short temper? You don't know that you're being reconditioned. And your body's reaction isn't rebelling. It is now consciously trying to tell you, some of this shit ain't right. Girl, wake up. The neurotoxins, or better yet, instead of us saying neurotoxins, that's a nice way for the beasthood to tell you it's a nerve killer. These nerve killers are chemicals that stimulate the neurons in the brain so badly that the neurons die. They die. That is where you get your attention deficit disorder. Because you can go to the school and watch them kids come in, and sisters, if you had a little bit of time that you didn't have to run off to work, you just throw them at the school door, roll them in, and then get where you got to go. If you had a chance to go down there and sit in front of that school door and ask them children to empty their pockets before they go in, you can open up your own damn concession.
That's right.
And if you read half the shit that they're putting into their systems, you'll know why your child is coming home with B's and C's and had problems and need Ritalin and all that shit. When glutamate, now here's where you get your monosodium, your MSG. When glutamate is in its natural form in foods, such as tomatoes, the body takes its own sweet time to break down the peptide links. And glutamate is a non-essential amino acid. So if it's non-essential, the body takes its time and goes through a series of reactions to match the chemistry necessary to break it down without doing harm to the body. So the glutamate comes in when you eat the tomato, the body recognizes it and then sets its own time clock to breaking it down. But when you eat anything that has been processed in the factory, the factories where these products are high in glutamate, such as soybeans, wheat, corn. These products, which are high in glutamate, are boiled in vats of acid and then neutralized with a caustic soda, then dehydrated to form hydrolyzed vegetable protein. What happens when you do that boiling, sometimes for 20, 30 hours they're boiling this stuff. What happens is you destroy all the peptide links necessary for the body to recognize so that the time clock for its proper digestion will take place. But when you destroy the peptide links, body don't know what the fuck is going on. It's this form of deconstructed, manipulated, and mutated glutamate, or free radical MSG, that we are overloaded with. And the amount added to processed foods have literally doubled and sometimes tripled every 10 years. Now, you think that's an accident? Has anybody ever seen that Utz potato chip?
Yes.
I want you to think about this. 10, 15 years ago, the content of sodium in your foods were about 50 to 80%. Now, the content of sodium is up to 250. That is because the generation that succeeds the next generation has become so innervated, so denatured, and so numb that they need to heighten the stimulant to get an effect anymore. So each generation is becoming so numb, so desensitized, that they have to up the stimulant value of the food. So now, if you have a problem, 2 or 3 chips with a person with high blood pressure, send their high blood pressure sky high. And that's what your children are eating. My sisters, this particular wounded womb is for you to start doing some thinking on another level. You are the caretakers. You are the inner society. You are our mothers. You are our wives. You are the one that takes care of the children. It is necessary for you, above all, to be discretionary with what you feed our children and our men and everyone else that is in your periphery and in your orbit. The neurotoxins, or nerve killers, reach our bloodstream sublingularly. That means you don't even have to swallow them. You can even breathe them. Now, I'm saying this to you because I'm going to precede every one of my next lectures with this, because this is vital. This is the new mind control. These nerve killers reach our bloodstream sublingularly. Whenever you see sublingular, that means they put it up under the tongue, and then the body absorbs it directly into the bloodstream. So when you take it sublingually in the mouth, it permeates the mucous membranes as well as the cell walls instantaneously. This causes creating a whole host of pathological symptoms. Now, when this gets into the bloodstream, there is no safeguards, no digestive safeguards for this particular substance. The body can't recognize it, so it can't recognize it, it runs free through the body, running havoc. Now, when it gets into the bloodstream, some of the pathological reactions that you would feel are as follows. Severe headaches, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, irregular heartbeat or blood pressure, depression or mood change, sisters, abdominal pain, cramps, bloating. You may want to consider whether or not those heavy cramps you're getting before your cycle, since it isn't a natural thing anyway, that the exacerbation of those cramps during the menstrual cycle or during the time right when you're going to hemorrhage is not caused by those radicals that you ate that day. Or maybe, 2 or 3 days ago, depending on how sensitive you are. Dizziness, poor equilibrium, tenderness or soreness in localized areas, sleep disorders, blurred vision, difficulty breathing, excessive perspiration or chills, shortness of breath, chest pains, asthma, pain in the joints of the bones, flushing or tingling in the face or the chest, gagging or difficulty swallowing, hyperactivity in children, behavioral problems in children, chronic postnasal drip, skin rashes, hives, heavy itching, bloating in the face, circles under the eyes, extreme thirst, dry mouth, poor memory, poor concentration. Now take a moment to think about that. That can cover the gauntlet of every fucking thing that we're sick with.
That's right. That's right.
Now, if this one thing can cause that, what the hell are we doing to ourselves in all the other things that we do? the air we breathe, the water we drink, the people that we have around us. That's toxic in itself. They got some toxic motherfuckers around here. And I get dizzy just being around these motherfuckers. I ache to come in this presence here because I can breathe and feel better. But there's some toxic motherfuckers out there, boy. That's shit. Walk by them and then you start weaving and shit. You gotta think about that. Now, if your girlfriend keep calling you up talking shit on the phone about man troubles and girl, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and you start getting tired all of a sudden. You just call that shit that you know, would you break up with them because they got MSG-itis? And just being around them is like taking a dose of MSG.
Psychic vampires.
Them too. Now there are rampant popular diseases attributed to neurotoxicity. Rampant. And they are fibromyalgia, attention deficit disorder, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, irritable bowel syndrome, mini strokes, seizures, asthma, and weight problems. Now, what is MSG? MSG is the salt, the sodium salt of glutamic acid that is referred to as a non-essential amino acid. It occurs naturally in many of the foods eaten by the peoples, such as milk, which does the body good. It does it all right. Mushrooms and tomatoes. Glutamic acid is just one of the several amino acids that make up the building blocks of proteins. Glutamic acid is also found in the cells of our bodies and is involved in a wide variety of brain functions. See, this is why it's so diabolical. They know what glutamic acid is when it's been turned and perverted into a free radical. They understand what it does to the brain because the brain would recognize part of the component of what the glutamic acid is, even if it is this radical. And remember, I said before that the brain has its own blood pressure. The blood pressure of the body and the blood pressure of the brain are two different things. So when you have a glutamic acid that gets past the sentinels that your hypothalamus is all constantly got on the clock, and this thing gets past or bum rushes the sentinels, you got troubles. And if the brain recognizes one component of that glutamic acid, even in its perverted form, but it's doing damage, it's welcoming this beast into it, just like we did, the natives did here when he landed, we welcomed it in. That was MSG-itis there. Everywhere he went, we welcomed him in. Well, this is what your brain is doing to this substance, because part of your brain has this glutamic acid recognition function. When plant or animal protein is processed, hydrolyzed, autolyzed, modified, because you got to look for something that says modified on it too, or fermented, their proteins often break down into the constituent building blocks, or what you call the amino acids. That's why when you eat certain foods, you have this breaking down process of those building blocks into the essentials that created the protein that you're eating. Your body sees the essentials, discards the rest. Now, thus, when you break down these building blocks into their constituent parts, that's when you get the mono or the singular isolated sodium salt. And this becomes the byproduct to the freed up radical that is released. This is the byproduct. This is the release of that radical that the body would not process or would not allow to do what it did, because there would be protective factors when it's breaking down, when it's recognized by the by the peptides. When it takes the peptide links causes the body to create a certain enzyme that would protect it from the isolated sodium. But if you don't have that peptide link in the glutamic acid, that's it. Only when glutamic acid has been isolated and freed up from its natural protein form through factory processing does it have the toxic ability to fuck up our brain receptors and thus cause any of the symptoms we mentioned earlier. The MSG isolate, that is the freed up byproduct or the concentrated sodium, is used as a food additive in the form of a white crystal that looks like a fine granulated sugar or salt. It is odorless and has no distinct flavor. Think about that. It is odorless and has no distinct flavor. That's diabolical. Now listen very carefully. Since MSG can be a component of a food product, listen, since MSG can be a component of a food product, as in, for instance, soy sauce or malted barley, the FDA allows it to go into the foods unlabeled as MSG. So they know what's going on. There's a book out called Battling the MSG Myth. You need to get that. It's by George Schwartz. S-C-H-W-A-R-T-Z. In other words, George Black. That's what Schwartz means. Schwarzenegger. What do you think that means? Black nigger. Now, glutamic acid is joined as part of other amino acids in a protein by way of peptide bonds or linkages. What is a peptide? A peptide is defined as any of various or synthetic compounds containing two or more amino acids linked by a carboxyl group of one amino acid and the amino group of another. That's for you technical people out there. Two, and I'll tell you what a carboxyl group is. A carboxyl group is defined as a univalent radical, COOH, which is characteristic of all organic acids. What is a peptide bond? The peptide bond is the chemical bond between organic acid groups and amine groups, neighboring amino acids constituting the primary linkage of all protein structures. What is an amine? Amine is any of a group of organic compounds of nitrogen, like ethylamine, C2H5NH2, that may be considered ammonia derivatives, in which one or more hydrogen atoms has been replaced by a hydrocarbon radical. What is an amino? An amino pertains to an amine or other chemical compound containing NH2, nitrogen, hydrogen, with two hydrogen atoms, combined with a non-acid organic radical. What is an amino acid? An amino acid is an organic compound containing both an amino group, NH2, and a carboxyl group, COOH. It's a compound of the form NH2CHRCOOH, which is formed as essential components of the protein molecule. I did that because there's a lot of people wondering whether I know what I'm talking about, so I just say, okay, well, you go find it for yourself. Now, normally, when we eat a protein-rich food, the peptide linkages are slowly broken down or broken apart during the digestive process. But when MSG is taken into the body, it no longer has the linkages to break down, since it is now a free glutamate, a radical isolate, not bound to any other of the amino acids. As a result, the glutamate is quickly absorbed into the deeper tissue network. And the amount of glutamic acid in the blood can skyrocket to as much as 8 to 10 times the normal level. That's in the Chinese food too. Some glutamate already exists in the blood cells, but when there is an overload, the cell becomes inebriated and dysfunctional and inevitably dies. This toxic drug thus has a deadly effect not only on the brain, but the blood vessels, the intestinal muscles, and the intestinal walls. In fact, everywhere that you have blood vessels and everywhere that blood travels. So the lungs and organs are affected, changing the rhythm of your heart, your breathing, and normal hormonal secretions. Normal hormonal secretions. Name a hormone. Estrogen. Name another hormone. Testosterone. The very basis of your sexuality. The very basis of your nature. The very basis of your instinct. Fuck with the hormones, and the hormones are the messengers that maintain the instinct of the body. As a woman, you want to maintain the instinct of the gynic woman. The gynic woman is one who don't want to do things that men do, because in their nature, they don't feel like it. But if you fuck with the nature, I'm sorry, I said I promise you don't get like this. But if you fuck with the nature, you fuck with the woman. She no longer wants to be a woman. She don't feel good sitting down. She want to join Shaq on the court. Think about that. If you do not have the estrogen necessary, the progesterone necessary to keep the components of the feminine principle intact, you cannot maintain the instincts and even the thinking of a woman. By the stress, the very stress that will bring upon your body will cause you to create androgenic materials. What are androgenic materials? You look at the word andro and you see man. So when a woman does a lot of stress, in order for a body that was not made for that stress to encompass the stress, the body has to create a masculine hormone in order to deal with the stress. So when a woman is running around and throwing her body on there, playing volleyball, stomping on the ground, and jumping up, boxing, want to play football, basketball, when you begin to accelerate the body beyond the stress levels, the body begins to do its own thing. And what does it do? It reacts to the stress by creating androgenic materials to match the stress so that you don't fucking kill yourself. So then you begin to start getting hard jawlines, you start getting necks and thick back muscles and shit, and you start wanting to do like that. You even start walking like this. Check them sisters on the court. Go ahead and check them sisters in Madison Square Garden. You swear it was Michael J. You know Michael had this particular lope that he would be checking out, right? Check the sisters. Anytime you see a sister starting to jitterbug, and you start seeing the top part doing this, that means the orientation of their instincts no longer are in the hips where they belong. Because males walk like this is because the center of gravity is up here. That's why y'all like that V. Y'all like the way we walk away from you. You said, look at that, girl. And you check in the walk. When you check a man walk, you check him stride. It's a gait. But when a sister walks, because of her orientation, like I said before in the other videos, there is a orientation in the hips where the life force is. So your life force is here. So there is a sway that automatically happens. And that's why African women got that booty. It was genetically grown for us. Thank you, sisters. Thank you. The hell with all them white women want to get rid of their asses. I don't understand that shit. Sisters, what are you doing? All this aerobic shit to get rid of your ass. You want to pervert your genes. That's because there's too much shit on the television. You're looking at TV, that virtual reality shit. But as I'm saying, the orientation changes when you destroy the component that maintains the instinct in the body. The sisters don't want to feel like that. And then the sisters now don't want to nurse because it's not in them to feel like they want to nurse. Get the bottom. They don't want to do the things that nurture. They don't feel the nurturing. And it's not their fault. This is the shit that they've been getting to component to change them, to change their nature, to change you brothers into faggots.
Break it down.
You got to stop. You got to think about how it is it's being done, because it ain't natural for nobody, like brothers say, want to seek out the asshole of another man.
That's right. That's right.
How the fuck could you look at the asshole of a hairy ass man and say I'm in love? We are losing our instincts, and they are purposefully being bred out of us.
That's right.
This is not, it's really out there, but you can sit down and think about that shit for a while. Because I have a lot of my soldiers looking out for all of the sisters and brothers who are out of their fucking minds, or really out of their instincts. There's no more out of your mind anymore. You're out of your instincts. You have gone out of your instincts. And the sisters, I know it's cold, but you got to get out the pants and start wrapping your legs. Because them pants also keep you acting in certain ways. I know, you don't want to hear it. I just got to say what I know. It's got to stop, because the orientation for the man is, the reason why men wear clothes that are like we are, to wear the pants to dispel heat. Pants are made to dispel heat, not to contain heat. Men create heat better than women. That's our nature. Our lungs are larger, so we can break down oxygen faster. Everything about us is larger because of the work that we have to do for you. Now the society is so fucked up and topsy-turvy, based upon this beasthood, we don't realize that the work we do signifies the instinct. Now, once you start doing certain works, your body has to conform to the trauma. When it conforms to the trauma, it changes. And every now and then, it falls back, of course. But there's always this perverse action that trains the genes to act a certain way and react a certain way. Now, the best way for you to mind control anybody is to control the mind from within. All you have to do is to program a new species. You don't even have to get to, because imagine you trying to mind control all these motherfuckers, 10 million motherfuckers. You can't mind control everybody. You got to set the structures to such a pace and such a way that the mind control becomes a genetic thing. That it now becomes an instinct rather than a programmed behavior. Now you think about that shit. And I'm going to get you more on it when we go down to, when we all end up and I see you down in Atlanta. But we don't get to the metaphysics. Right now we're just dealing with the physics. Now, glutamic acid itself, with the hydrolyzed by substance, can cause gout. Much of your arthritis that you're feeling. Now, when it becomes saturated in the joints, that's when it begins to swell, and then you start getting that inflammation. And the muscles and the stimulation, tendinitis. Anybody can talk about tendinitis? Eye pains. Hydrolyzed vegetable protein is made by boiling certain vegetables for hours. Repeat, hours in vats of sulfuric acid. Let me repeat that. Hydrolyzed vegetable protein, the stuff that you see substance inside of a lot of your foods that you eat, is made by pouring certain vegetables for hours in vats of sulfuric acid, which is then neutralized with caustic sodas. Now, the sludge, when it's being boiled, the sludge is scraped off of the top and then dried to form a powder, which is high in glutamic aspartate. Aspartame in the gum, okay? And a cysteic acid, C-Y-S-T-E-I-C. Again, neurotoxins, excitotoxins, nerve killers. Now this sludge, once it's scooped up, is a powdered byproduct and contains known carcinogens and dicarboxylic acid, amino acid. Let me get that again. Carcinogens and dicarboxylic, C-A-R-B-O-X-I-L-I-C, D-I-C-A-R-B-O-X-I-L-I-C, dicarbolic, you know what to say. Now, no one knows what this particular effect does in the blood. We can only see the peripheral after effects of this thing happening. Pure MSG, check this. Pure MSG, my sisters, is often added to hydrolyzed powder. In the end, the product is bagged and shipped to food companies where it is added to many foods, including baby foods. Including baby foods. MSG is produced by fermenting food products like molasses. Now, you don't need to be taking no damn molasses either, because molasses is just, you know what? Anybody, brother may have my tape on the, what was it I did? Holistic Health and the Fraud of the New Age. You need to get that tape. Holistic Health and the Fraud of the New Age, when I break down all of the byproducts, filth, and waste products of industry is sold to you as health food. We'll get into that later.
Where's the guns?
Excuse me?
Where's the guns?
The guns? Well, you got to deal with some psychic guns this time. You got to fight them on the warfare where they're getting ready to go. Now, it's a powder like molasses, other useless byproducts of refinement, other products that produce MSG by being refined. Now, check out the products that produce MSG by being refined. Corn, anything you see with corn byproducts, cornstarch, all of that. Soybeans, that means the processed tofu. Not the tofu itself flat, but all the other stuff added up with the tofu. Sugar beets, sugar cane, tapioca, and a whole list of other vegetables which we're going to get to. Now I'm going to talk about the additives that you're going to get, that they have you, you're going to go home and you're going to put down these additives and you're going to write them, when you get this tape, write them down, and when you go shopping, take them with you and check the boxes. Check every package that is processed in the health food stores. I went, buck wild, this shit you can't buy no more. Because the health food stores is full of MSG. Yes. The shit is full of MSG all over, in all of the processed food, and it says organic on it. What we gonna do? We gonna get even better. Because if we don't process this information into action, we fucked. Now, since it is refined from these natural products, here's the way the Beasthood works. Since it is refined from these natural products, it could be assumed that it has the same health benefit. Right? The FDA, or the Food and Disease and Assassination Organization, Food for Disease and Assassination, that's the FDA, claims that only a small number of people are sensitive to MSG. Now, Michael Taylor, Deputy of Policy for the FDA, lied on November 4th in 1991 when he was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and he said that only 2% of the American population is MSG reactive, that being about a small amount, similar to, 0.000100th of us. But a chart called Major Causes of Restaurant Syndrome. Now this came out, and they began to post this after this particular news report came out. But there was something called restaurant syndrome that was going around, and they didn't know why people were getting sick, fainting, vomiting in the places. They didn't know what was going on. All right? Now check when you go out to eat in all these fancy holistic restaurants. You better check with them and ask them if they use these products. Give them the list. Now, it says major causes of restaurant syndrome in January and February release. This is the major cause of 1987. The NER Allergy Protocol book. This is the Allergy Protocol book. You need to get that. The Food Allergy Protocol book. And this was in volume 8, number 1. Estimates that, and this is in their estimation. This guy went on TV in 60 Minutes, said only 2% of the population. The people who do the programming to check you out to make sure that you know what's going on in your restaurant say that 15 to 20% of the population, or at least 50 million people, are sensitive to MSG. Now, if you really look at it, you know that they always trim the fat and they always want to get it to sound good for you. So you got to estimate that it's about 40 or 50% of the population, maybe 60 or 70% of the population that are reacting, but the reactions cannot be codified by the present system that they have now. So you don't know what's happening until they legalize or legitimize your sickness with a fucking name they attach to it. Then they start pimping you for some more money. Now, the hidden names we got already. Now I'm going to go through the ingredients that often contain MSG. Malted barley as a flavor. Anything that says flavors or flavoring, you know what the fuck they put in there, flavors, flavoring, what the hell are they putting in there? Modified food starch. Barley mal, M-A-L. Barley mal. You'll see these. You got it, and that's what you do. You got to go on a consciousness expedition. Because like I said, sisters, what you put in your mouth, you're going to put into your child. That's right. When that baby is born in your womb, it's being born based on the orientation of that perverse filth that they're putting into your system, sister. Anything that says reaction flavors. Rice syrup or brown rice syrup. Yes. Listen up carefully, brothers and sisters. I wanted to say this because I could be talking all about sisters and all. This is the most important thing we need to know right now. How the mind conditioning will take place. How mind control, God control will take place. Malt extract or flavoring. Lipolyzed, that's lipolyzed butter fat. Now all y'all making your eggnog and all that shit? Think about it. Natural chicken, natural beef, or natural pork. And you see it as an ingredient inside of your stuff. Maltodextrin. M-A-L-T-O-D-E-X-T-R-I-N. Maltodextrin. Now, this is the most insidious. Seasonings. The very nebulous and very seasonings. Seasonings that are herbs, spices, salts, and so forth that they process for you. Exactly. Especially the salt derivatives or the, what's that called again? Salt substitutes and shit. Check your labels. Check your labels. Soy sauce. Soy extract. I know everybody just started slumping in their chair at that one. Soy protein. Corn syrup and corn syrup stock. What's left? Might as well start sucking my finger, right? Anything that says solids, or anything that says solids and claims to be MSG free. You see what I'm saying? All right now. You got to watch that because that, again, this is what may be in there. But you got to look at the fact that these may not be in your health food stores, some of these labels. But in the health food stores, there's stuff that says MSG free without all the other things, it's MSG free. So you got to discern now. If you want to check it out for yourself, take it, see how you feel, know that ain't what you're going to buy again. If you feel sick, that's how it's got to be done.
That's right.
Okay? Soy protein isolate or soy protein concentrate. Now you need to take these down, sisters and brothers. because it's very important. The new conditioning, the new mind conditioning has begun. And they have attacked the natural healing, natural eating, I want to be all healthy, and what do you call it, community. Anything that says broth on the side, any kind of broth. I know, make your own broth.
That's right.
Cornstarch. No, I said that in the beginning. Citric acid. Now, anything that says citric acid on the side, it's very difficult because the citric acid that is processed from the corn is what you want to look for. That's the isolate. Okay? Milk powder. Bouillon. That's B-O-U-I-L-L-O-N.
Beef, chicken, all that.
Vegetable.
Good seasoned stuff.
There it is. Dry milk solids. Anybody who buys cheese or milk or any cheese product, and you see on the side it says flowing agents, it is the isolate that causes the cheese to not coagulate or to break off into little pieces. So if you got a smooth, creamy cheese, that the cream cheese, and not cream cheese, but the type of cheese that you can just squeeze out a tube or one of those, it's wrapped with flowing agents, which is the monosodium glutamate. And this is another one you got to look for. Carrageenan. C-A-R-R-A-G-E-E-N-A-N. Carrageenan. Anything that says wheat, rice, or oat protein on it. A substance that says annatto. Annatto. A-N-N-A-T-T-O. Annatto. MSG. Protein fortified milk or protein fortified anything. Any fucking thing that's fortified. You know what it means. If it's fortified, it means that they broke the shit down till it ain't got no life, it ain't nothing left in it, and then they just took the shit that was isolated and put it back in. As if the molecular structure is the same as it used to be. And you go up there, fortified with A and B, fortified with this, when it's fortified, and this jackass on TV say, fortified.
That's right.
Everybody knows when the white man came here and he started putting up forts, you knew what the fuck that was for.
That's right.
So why you gotta fortify a natural food? A natural food already got what it needs. And what you need. Whey protein, or whey, W-H-E-Y. Anything enriched or vitamin enriched. I know y'all be eating all that stuff that's vitamin enriched. Everybody say, well, it's vitamin enriched. But you see, you got to understand that the vitamins were taken out and the molecular bond and structure that the body would normally recognize is no longer there. What you have now is a compound. And the compound cannot be recognized by the body because the atomic structure is gone.
Synthetic.
It's a synthetic. And what a synthetic is an irritant. And an irritant is a non-vital stimulant, which taxes the body of its life force and gives nothing back in return. See, digestion and eating, again, is a form of communication. So when you communicate, you're actually doing an exchange. So when you're digesting, it's an exchange process. See, if you were in there and you force the body to digest something, and the components that are being extracted are of no value to the body, you have sacrificed your vital force to get nothing back. So now you are slowly depleting the storehouse of your energy that keeps your heart, your lungs, your liver, and everything functioning properly.
That's right.
And if your womb and your uterus is being taxed, and all of the nutrients that your womb, see, your uterus is so beautiful, sisters. That little thing you got down there, right down there, Whenever there's a lack of vitamins or nutrients someplace, it shoots it to that spot. It sends it to the area that's deficient of nutrients. That little thing you got there that is so misused and abused. That tiny little triangle right there is the essence of your womanhood. That's the tabernacle of who you are as the yin, feminine energy. Oh, the mercy. Anything, a question, let me finish this off. Anything that says pectin on the side, P-E-C-T-I-N, pectin. And I know sisters use that to do some cooking with. To spice up their, I guess, soups and stuff like that. Anything that says isolate or concentrate. Gums. Chewing gums. That's my vice. Protein fortified anything. Enzyme fortified anything. Anything that is ultra pasteurized. Anything that contains protease. P-R-O-T-E-A-S-E. Protease. Anything that says on the side dough conditioners. When they be kneading that bread, the shit that they put in, a dough conditioner. Protease enzymes. Fermented anything. And anything with yeast. Or yeast nutrients, to be more specific. Because these are the byproducts of manufacturing, and they just bottle it for you, make it look all good, and you buy it as a health food product. Question?
When they add vitamins to the orange juice, what are they doing? They have 45.
I'm sorry? Say that again, beloved?
Orange juice in the store.
Orange juice?
Yes.
Yeah, don't buy any fortified orange juice. Don't buy anything from Tropicana, all that crap. Go and buy yourself a bag of organic oranges and squeeze it out yourself. Anytime you see, when they start pasteurizing anything, they destroy the molecular bonding and you destroy the atomic spin orientation of the natural food. When that happens, then the food now no longer has the interactive component that the body recognizes as a life force. See, before we go, the life force is codified within the genus or within the species of the thing that the life force chooses to become. The life force chooses to become an orange. It has a specific code that that seed now contains, and when you put that seed in, the code of that seed now creates another orange. Take that orange and boil it and put all kind of shit inside of it. It's no longer the same thing that the seed had given to you. Now the body can't recognize it because the body is of the earth, of the dust of the ground. But the shit that you take from Tropicana is from the vats of the what do you call it? So what you want to do? Be a child of the dust of the ground, or be a child from the vat that they cook that bullshit in? So we have to understand and overstand that the foods that we take in are directly connected to the instincts of prototypical man from 66 trillion years ago. So now they know how to control you is to create a whole new genus. And what do? You destabilize the monolith that was the archetype of humanity, and you begin to break them down slowly so that the next generations are so sick, are so denatured, are so weak, that it's easy to program them with anything. Brother told you about that in the last lecture. Yes, sister, go right next to you.
Citrus juices.
No.
Can you buy citrus juices?
You have to read your side, what do you call it again, beloved? Read the side again. I gave you the tools, especially the women. They have to read the labels now, and if you see these things, put them down. And you see, what it is...
No, I mean the machine.
Same thing. Oh, the citric juicer? Oh, well, no, you can juice. You know, the citric juicer just simply turns the mulch. And I would suggest you take the mulch and eat the mulch or the white part, because that's where all the vitamin C is. The sister in the back, and then I'll come to you too. Yes, sister. How you doing, beloved?
I respect everything that I'm listening to you say, aside from pants. You and I are going to have to talk about it.
Sure, no problem.
I have boys, and I have to bowl with my boys, and I just can't do this.
I know you can,
But
sister.
anyway,
But that's the condition of the society,
anyway,
not
I
you.
still want to be respected, even though I got to do what I got to do.
Sure.
You know, for me.
Mhm.
Assuming what you're saying is real about these additives in the products, my concern is about this orange that you're telling us to buy.
Mhm.
Because genetic engineering is advanced now. I mean, you know, I respect what you're saying, but the truth is we don't know what's altered and what's not if we're not growing it.
Okay.
And that's
Good point.
what I feel is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because any kind of gene can be injected now. There's a lot of cross-genetic things happening. I wonder if you would speak to that.
Surely. What has happened is that the international growers that are dealing in the organic farms are up in arms. They are not taking any of the seeds that Monsanto have been dealing with. They're dealing with first-generation seeds only. And what the Monsanto and the rest of these corporations want to do, and you're correct, is to be able to label genetically altered food as organic. But they cannot do that right now. Now, the only way that I say this, since you want to trust and don't want to trust that, is that you learn to spin that pendulum. Because the new way of you now getting into the psychic warfare that's being done, I used to teach a course in metaphysics, some of my students are here, where I teach you how to read the pendulum and how the pendulum can tell you whether or not you got a real food or not. Or whether or not these tablets that you're taking are real or will take energy from you rather than give it to you.
That's right.
And until you begin to understand and understand that psionics are the new science. Psionic is the new form of warfare with the ultra frequencies that are being bombarded towards you right now to distort you, to change you. Then you will know that the kind of energy they use are nothing more than the energies of the earth grids, the ionosphere, the starlight energy, as well as sunlight and moonlight energy. All of them can be in your command. And you can work with that. But everybody's asking me to start a new metaphysics class. Like I said, I'm underground. I only talk to one or two of my brothers and sisters at this point. I'm only here with only the brothers that I know I can trust. The other part of it is with the pants. Let me say that before I go to the two here because they're past. It's necessary for me to say what is happening in our archetypal nature. We know what sisters have had to do to be able to deal in this perverse society. Again, I am not castigating my sisters for what they had to do. We know what the conditioning was. But now we must put back what was truth. We cannot continue to do what we're doing. And because of the way we are at this point, destabilizing the society so there is no integrity in the family. There is no male in the family so that there's no female so she could be a female in the family. She is taking on two roles. Again, because the male has been defeated. She has to now deal with things where her family and her child come first. So if she has to get in the pants to roll with her sons, fine. But I'm saying that is not what is natural, it is normal. There's a big difference between what is natural and what is normal.
That's true. I understand that, Phil, but what if you work on a job where you can't wear? You understand what I'm saying?
But I'm saying.
We are not part of the workforce. That's just the way that it is.
But yeah.
I can sit in a lotus position and meditate for the next 20 years on some brother, or I can take care of my business.
But who's busy? You're taking it.
So he can take care of me.
You're taking it wrong. But you're taking it wrong. You're taking it.
Once the child comes out of me, whether he's there, alive, or dead, I still have to take care of my son.
But see, that's the reaction. That's the reaction I get.
Yes, I'm saying that's normal, though.
Yes, it is.
You have to do that and not to be sitting there crying away, waiting on somebody to do
But
that.
sister, did I say that? But did I say that? Right.
I said some of us do have jobs and careers which necessitate that we have to, say women that are firefighters or women who are police officers or women, it's a job. Come on, Phil.
No. See, there's a difference between.
It's a job, and I'm not going to knock those sisters down because they do what they have to do.
Sister, that's what I'm saying to you. When all of your options have been closed out, yeah, you got to do it. When everything has been real, then you have to change it. If the situation has been found out to be detrimental to the specific species that is being inflicted upon, you can go along and say, well, I got to do it. Or it comes a point where we say, that's it.
That's right.
Now we can go ahead and say, yes, sisters are out there doing this and that, but who has created the condition for the sister to become a firefighter? When did it come to necessary for a sister to go down 3 feet 11, walking down with a fucking Glock on her side? When did it ever come necessary for that? That is a perversion. And you cannot keep mollycoddling and excusing the perversion because it's what we had to do. There's a point where we got to say, fuck this. And until we do that, no other options will show themselves to us. If you continue in the abuse, no other options will show themselves if you don't stop. If you stop, then you got to get creative. What the fuck else am I going to do?
That's right.
If you sisters stop working, period. If you shut down every fucking thing you do in this country, the country shuts down. Where is the collective message about the fact that there ain't no brothers? Where is your ire and your anger at the fact that we're fucking up? If there was a real ire and a focus to your anger, you would stop doing every fucking thing you were doing and say, that's it, I'm tired. Listen, I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it ain't real. Yeah, whatever it is, whatever it's going to take.
The men are not correct, so we will
We're
not
not.
have sex with our men.
That's right. Whatever it takes.
And work with the Christian women, but we're not going to do that. You know.
I know we're not. But you see, what's going to happen is, we never know what can happen.
We better take care.
But you see, what's going to happen, we never know what's going to happen.
I know homeless women with children. They did what you're saying, and they don't have to put
But you see, they don't have the support mechanism. They only got homeless homes for them to go to. That's not what I'm talking about. Everything that you are going through, sisters, was set up by the structure of the society that's doing it to us. So you cannot say, I'm looking for solutions in the very solutions the society that's fucking us is giving us. You can't look for solutions in the society that's fucking you. They're doing it to fuck you. The welfare system was set up to separate you from your man, and the new husband is your state. The state is your new husband. So yeah. So unless we feel comfortable and we've got a comfort zone of activity, and that's what they want you to believe in, to deal in the comfort zone of the activity, so that you can now say, okay, since my children are this, we are not ready to die. We are not ready to die for a damn thing. We are not ready to suffer. We are not ready to feel any hunger pains. If you were to fast for 14 fucking days, you would shut this country down. If McDonald's wasn't getting no food, none of your money. If Burger King, if these goddamn supermarkets weren't getting any of your money, what do you think would be happening at this time? They come begging you. What do you want? But until we understand that the very participation with the Beasthood gives him his strength. And the fact that we fighting and bugging and talking all this shit that we doing about solutions inside of the system, it don't work inside the system. Because everything structured inside of the system is made to keep you in the fucking system. So, no, it's no fight. Of course we are. No, this is me. This is just me. Everybody, I ain't mad, like I say, I ain't mad at you, baby. No, this is just us. This is family talking here. And you know we can fight and talk this thing off. Shit, yeah. Now, the sister behind you had her hand up first, and I'm going to get to you, brother.
I thought I was saying if I always eat things that I can read, you know, like words that weren't, so 27-letter words.
Right.
If I can pronounce it, then I can, you know.
Beautiful.
But as I read, like corn syrup, corn starch, rice syrup. I knew that about natural flavors. I mean, if it's natural, you don't have to make natural flavors.
Go ahead, girl.
But what I'm saying is, so what? It comes down to just raw food.
Whoa, no, it doesn't. You can still prepare your foods.
I thought I was doing okay too with the rice string.
I know, beloved. I know. Let's see what it is. This is the learning process. There's a lot of times when I don't want to speak about, a lot of the times I don't speak about certain things because then people say, well, goddamn, what now? And people then say they don't want to get creative. It's like, well, then tell me what to do. See, when you stop doing something, a way is made automatically, because the universe is an answer. You are the proverbial walking question. Anything you ask, you will be answered. And if whatever it is that you're seeking for, when you put the template of that particular thing in your mind, the universe looks for you. So whatever you're seeking is seeking you.
Amen.
So if there is a solution to be had, the solution will be had once you stop the activity that is creating the problem, cease, be still and know that I am, boom, the universe gives you another way. And until that happens, and you see the thing is the society continues to force us and to coerce us into participating with it. That's the whole thing around commercials. It's to keep you buying, keep you feeling that you're part of it. Oh, you don't have one of those, honey? Well, you need to hurry up and get one. And that's that mentality. So when that happens, you waste such an enormous field and resource of consciousness just focusing on this bullshit virtual reality that they got for us. So if you're looking at the rice dream, find out what they do and make your own ice cream. That's what my grandmother used to do. Find out what's necessary for you to disengage from this society. Because everything that they are doing is to maintain the present course of the present slave ship that we're on. And this slave ship is so subtle now, you think it's the SS Britannica. This new slave ship is so decorated, you can't recognize it now.
Think you're free.
That's right. But we're in the middle passage now. See, that's the thing, consciousness-wise, we're in the middle passage right now. Because we are now in the ocean of our consciousness, our becoming of ourselves. And now in this middle passage, they're dumping us off left and right. The very people that are supposed to reach that land, that new consciousness, that new dimensional consciousness, is being killed. They're attacking us at the source of your consciousness, where the genes codify consciousness, where the genes process light into consciousness. That's what the light codes are about. So yes, sister, it's going to get harder. That's why I don't say many things.
Well, see, I've been off the flesh for about 4 years now.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. Keep it up, sister.
So, as far as in that, I was looking at things with the milk products.
Yes.
Eggs,
Beautiful.
I've stopped that.
Beautiful.
So I had took an alternative as far as soy milk and rice dream.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, I see with the ingredients as far as the MSG and how it smells.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I mean, I can deal with it. Hey, whatever it takes.
Look out, girl. And you know what?
That's always been.
Get your almonds, raw almonds, organic almonds, soak them, mix them up, and get your milk from that. And then mix them up, put a little bit of, and what you do is you get some.
I mean, I like the shredded wheat. That's what I was just.
Right.
You know, in the morning, okay, but that's only one.
Okay, now here's a recipe now. You can get yourself some Irish moss.
Okay.
Make your Irish moss organic. Get yourself your almonds. Soak them overnight in some distilled water. You can boil distilled water, but distilled water. And you can actually flavor it by grinding up or soaking your figs, organic figs and dates, and then mulching that up into and drying. You can make your own powder and your salt out of that by mulching it up and then liquefying it and then putting it out in the sun and letting it dry and then breaking it up into a fine sugar itself and putting it in and sweeten that thing. That is the most delicious thing you would want to have.
That's right.
And then, of course, give it to your man, because if you want a great night, you get some of that Irish moss. You start putting some of that hot boy in there. Boom! Please leave me alone. Yes, brother.
Yeah, actually, Monsanto and the other organic, so-called organic and non-organic
Yes.
food
Yes.
processes.
Mm-hmm.
They are taking the seeds out of the oranges.
Yeah.
That way you can be able to buy or plant your own orange.
Right.
Buy from them, purchase from them. So how do we deal with this kind of oranges? Is it safe to have
No,
those things?
no, beloved, no. I would not have anything that does not have a seed, because then the code has been taken out. The code has been taken out. The seed is the evidence of the continuum. The seed is that which is in everything. You have a seed within you. Just imagine you without your seed. It changes your nature. You see? Your nature changes immediately. So when you de-seed anything, you take the nature of the thing out. It does not even know what it is. So you cannot put that without a seed and put it in the ground and grow it. Because it doesn't know what it is anymore. The seed is the consciousness component of that thing that is growing. And all things have a seed. All living, conscious things have seeds.
That's right.
You take that seed, you take its consciousness from it. Thus, you're eating something with no consciousness, therefore there is no transference of consciousness, therefore no communication. You see? So seedless grapes, seedless this for your convenience, that's for you to walk along and pop it. Pop it. Neutral, neutral, no thinking, no consciousness. Just think about the fact that your eating is a form of communicating. That's how the earth tells you her messages. She is trying to communicate with you constantly through the air, through the water, and in the food. In the food, she tells you directly through the synergy that you get by eating what her byproducts are. By eating at the fruit that she's given you, you can stay in touch with nature mother. You stay in touch with your mother. And what she does is she tells you, hey, you know, there's a few things that's fucked up on the other side of the planet. You need to do this. And that's in the consciousness. Do you know that the algae that I take, that there's a blue-green algae that's taken, it's raw. The Native Americans used to take it. The blue-green algae can have me talking for 12 hours. Not thinking about anything. And I could be just like this. Y'all be like this, I'll be like this. And it's not an adjutant. It's a food. Do you know if the blue-green algae was to die now, everything on the planet would die? Everything on the planet would die. The blue-green algae, you know about the Exxon Valdez that dump that shit up there? Do you know it ain't them trying to clean up the stuff? Do you know what's bringing that particular environment back? The blue-green algae. So when you take blue-green algae, or when you have blue-green algae around you, that blue-green algae now begins to get with the infrastructural archetypal physiology that you have at a genetic level, in the deep tissue, deep genetic level. And then it's recognized immediately, because your skin used to be green at one time as well. Even in the ancient African laws, they'll tell you all of the different colored peoples that were there. But never eat anything without its seed. Because you are not eating what the nature wants you to know about. You're eating what they want you to think, or not to think about. They want to take away your synergistic ability to communicate through your skin, through your melanin. That's the worst thing for melanin to happen. When you start eating white food, because all dark peoples need to eat colored food. Because you're the only peoples that can extract color as consciousness. The Caucasoid is missing specific components in his digestive system. So he has a higher level and a higher rate of bilirubin. His higher level of bilirubin is to circulate more nutrients because his body, his infrastructure cannot extract color. So that's why he's taking all this acidophilus shit. You don't need no damn acidophilus. But he's pumping it out there and you're taking it. But you extract color when you digest. And the excess color is at that little sac that you see at the end of the ascending colon. Right? By where you see that thing, where you see that part where the appendix is, right there. That's where your excess melanin goes. That's where when you digest your food, all the color ends up. But your body can process color. The problem with you is that you have no vitamin E structured through your body so you can process the iron. See, that's what you have. The beautiful color you have is the iron that you have laid up in your skin. But you can't get that as readily because you don't have the proper amount of vitamin E. So that's why you drink alcohol, just like white people drink a lot of alcohol. They drink a lot of alcohol because they need to process whatever little bit of iron, heme iron, H-E-M-E iron, through their bodies. You can't do it either because you don't have the vitamin E. So you drink. You got to have your 40 and all that shit just to get the iron moving through your bloodstream. And that's another reason why his eyes are blue. The eyes are blue because of the higher level of bilirubin coursing through his body. The bilirubin is what turns your shit brown. All right, I just gave you a little bit of update on that. Now, Minister Brown had his hand up, and then I'll go to Sister, after. After I say these, I'll answer quickly, and then I'll take a 10-minute break.
Okay. I've been traveling through the South, and I'm noticing that a lot of white folks all over, they're moving south, and they are really buying up the land that black folks used to have. They're farming, they're raising their own foods, and we're still concentrated, in the cities. But I wanted you to speak to that because I don't know if we should be doing some of the same things or whether we should, because there's a conscious level in the cities that when you move out, you get a health level, but you don't get the conscious level from here. So, you know, I'm kind of torn between, because I have land down there, but I'm noticing that all around me, the black folk, we used to own hundreds of acres of land in South Carolina. Now all that land is white people. They're building, they got lakes, they got cows, they got farms. They're not eating this processed food.
Nope, they
It's a
know.
whole different ballgame.
You're right.
But there's no African consciousness to it.
It's coming. It's coming, beloved. I want to say that there is a change coming, a huge change, an ascendancy of melanated thinking. I want to get out of African thinking when we have become concentrated on African thinking, because we didn't begin in Africa. We started at the beginning. And if we see ourselves as creatures of the beginning, Africa can be home, because wherever we are could be Africa. We can go back after we get our shit together, but we can't talk about getting Africa going, because we ain't got no guns to send them, we ain't got no food to send them, we ain't got no money to send them. So if we don't start getting the shit that we have right here now, we start terraforming and start making Africa wherever the fuck we are. Until that starts to happen, until people begin to respect the fact that you are Africans and not no African Americans and all that shit. You see? When we stop hyphenating our reality.
Well, the continents are connected, so this is Africa.
But see, this is what I'm saying to you. We are the consciousness of Africa no matter where we are. Africa does not make us, we make Africa. And you have to understand that we are in a synergy with her energy. She is shaped like a heart, so it definitely beats within us. But Africa began 2,066 trillion years ago, when we began to be that seed of light that poured in from the unmanifested, and we began to take on the flesh. We are God trying to find itself, and we are God, and we will return to ourselves, and that's what we're doing. But we took this particular journey. Without this journey, we would not find out who we are. How many Africans are over there studying what Africans really are? We are so steeped in culture, which is beautiful, but culture codifies us into a behaviorism that stops us from seeing what we are outside of ourselves. We are studying ourselves for the first time since Kim. The Kemeteu and the great Ghana, the great universities in Timbuktu and these places, we were studying ourselves then. Now what are we doing? Studying gods. Fucking studying gods. You are the gods. We are so busy looking at all of the ways that the Caucasoid keeps us believing that these, Hercules and all this shit is these superhuman beings. We don't realize that the whole story is about us. And the fall into matter, the fall into evil, Satan and Lucifer is all us. We are Lucifer. There's nobody coming here telling you to go shoot that man. Ain't nobody telling you to blow up somebody or to take somebody's life. Ain't no Lucifer sitting here to do that shit. You're Lucifer. If you fucking pull a trigger on your brother, you're Lucifer. You're fucking Satan. The devil made me do it. What kind of shit is that? Until we begin to understand that you are the devil. You are God, and then you leave all that responsibility bullshit and bring it to yourself. Then you resurrect. But now you crawl around in the muck and mire of your ignorance, believing that the God will come and reach you somewhere from the pulpit. Fucking talking to Jesus. What the fuck you ever talked about Jesus 200, 300, 500 years ago? Jesus is this cyst that has been growing on your reality, keeping you like a fibroid, causing you irritations. And they got these pimps. Yeah, low blow, Creflo Pimpledonna, bastard. He got the nerve to be talking all kind of dumb shit. And the people's up there, yes, and they got their Bible. Oh yes, yeah, you're right. They don't know what the fuck they read it. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue, and that's the problem we have right now. There is a consciousness rising, and it's rising right here. There is a consciousness, and I can't say it. You know what? You need to come to this. And you're going to see where it is at this point. You need to check this out, because essentially, Until we begin to at least gauge where we are individually, we will not know where we are collectively. Because we've been trying to collectivize and shit ain't happening. Because every time we try to collectivize, you bring every Tom, Dick, and ignorant Negro together. And they don't know what the fuck to do to keep a shit together. You have to hand pick. You can't be just saying, everybody, rally. Yeah, rally, all right, I'll have my sign. What the fuck you doing? That's old paradigm shit.
Elijah Muhammad said, go to the believers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The idea is that every solution you want is here. But you have to be still first. The idea is until you begin to take a serious inventory of all the thoughts that they transplanted in your mind as reality. Until you begin to see that your thoughts are thinking you and that you are not thinking your own thoughts. Until you begin to realize that your real eyes are inside. Only then will you realize that this shit is all illusion and that you're participating in an illusion. And until you stop performing, stop acting, dressing, thinking, eating, and doing all the shit that keeps the illusion codified and collectivized, then you'll be constantly looking for what we going to do next. Are we marching down here? All right, we all meeting down here to march. It's madness. It's madness. It's madness. It's madness. So, two more. The question that the sister had. Yes? No, sister had this question first. I'm sorry.
I heard on the tape, one of your tapes, you were saying that fraternal twins are a condition of a diseased body.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I had a little problem with that.
All right. Okay. Now, again, the idea behind a lot of the things that I'm saying is not based upon just conjecture and belief. You have to do a very protracted and in-depth study of how the human physiology was created and what its functions are. And then you understand what it is that each particular part of your body was meant to do. Now, the womb was meant for one child. One child. And to give you the idea of this syndrome and why it's not a diseased body, but it is something that happened, a degenerated body, or a body that's been degenerated by whatever factor. It could have been genetic based upon eating, could have been trauma. But what I'm saying to you is that in vitro fertilization, when they try to make a baby that way, inevitably there's a multiple birth. Anytime you do something that is artificial and not natural, something always shows you what is not natural. So when you see them do unnatural things, you get twins, triplets, sextuplets, in other words, you're getting litters instead of babies, then you understand that any duplication of one thing outside of the norm or what is natural becomes normal.
I had identical twins, one egg that's split into two.
Right.
Why did they have?
Okay, usually the integrity of the egg, the zona pellucida, may have allowed two sets of sperm in. Now, when the zona pellucida is...
No, I have identical twins with one egg.
Yeah,
split.
that's what I'm saying.
Not two sperms that fertilize.
Well, then you have to
egg,
see...
Which is fraternal.
Yeah,
But mine are one egg that's split into two.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that one egg could have taken in two sperm, which caused the split. You see?
The sperm didn't split.
The sperm, yeah, it could have been, no, I'm saying that the sperm, not the sperm that split, the sperm, let me just explain. The zona pellucida, once the sperm hits the surface, what happens is, it's beautiful. That's why there's so many billions of sperm cells, millions of sperm cells. When the zona pellucida is reached, it's a team effort. All the other sperms start using their acid to start wearing away the outside lining. And once that happens, one of them is waiting. And once it does, it gets in. But what happens is once one of them gets in, the egg shuts it down automatically. Or something happens, and if two gets in, it causes the egg to act. If the egg has two nucleus, the eggs act on two sperm. It splits into two just like any other mitotic reaction. And then you get two of them acting up. I mean, two of them developing. But the zona pellucida of that one egg was weak. So it allowed that particular thing to happen. That is not natural. You see, it's a phenomenon. It's an what do you call that phenomenon? Something that happens extraneously. It happens. It's a phenomenon that happens that doesn't normally happen, but it happens if these conditions are in place. So I'm not saying that you got to be degenerate. Don't take my words to mean an affront to you all, brothers and sisters. I know. So yeah, there's about 4 twins in my family.
Yeah.
So you know, I probably end up having twins somewhere down my family too. But it is based on a genetic perversion, and that the particular material that you make inside of the what is that called? The penduncle that opens up. The penduncle that opens up, that allows the egg to go out from the ovary, then the manufacturing process, there was a default or a dysfunction in that area. Yes.
Just one more question. Spiritually, since you have, since I have twins, they're
Right.
identical, and a lot of people cannot tell them apart,
Right.
but they are different people.
Yes.
So spiritually, how would you treat twins
Oh, that's interesting. What you'd have to do is talk to them as one.
as one?
As one. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing about our ancestors. In the days, they would take the last twin or the younger twin and kill them. They'd kill them. And it would be like, oh my God, they're murdering this child. They just send the ancestor back and say, use another vehicle. You see what I'm saying? And the reason for that is one will sap the other. Or they would use them as spies. They would take them and send them into the army camp with another person, have them raise them, and then get in contact with them.
Well, a lot of Africans approach me in the street and just like so excited.
Yeah, that's because they're Christianized.
But you would treat them as one.
I would treat the twins as one because they think as one, though they have 2 bodies. Though they have 2 personalities, they share one energy. And that one energy is diffused into 2 personalities, but they talk as one, they feel as one, and they think as one. When they grow up, yes, you're going to see them feeling as one.
Yeah, I see that now.
Right, and that's the reason why it's so damaging, because if one of them was a king, you could affect the king through his what do you call it? And then they would have to kill the twin, because if they came out as a twin, the king, one of them was a twin, they would kill the younger one.
Like if I'm wiping one's nose,
Yeah, the other one
the other one
sniffles.
starts getting mad at
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
you know, because they're that close.
yeah,
It's just strange.
yeah. But I mean, you feel them as a mother. You'll begin to feel them. They'll let you know.
Okay.
One more.
Okay.
Yes. I'm below.
Yeah, since we know they have attacked us with, you know, making up this.
This new component of the MSG.
Right,
Yeah.
food and
Right.
stuff. Okay, so what we have to do is now we become essentially scientists ourselves to combat
Right.
what they're putting on us.
Exactly.
So, how about the land, walking around with the shoes off, isn't that a communicator?
Yeah.
Also?
Yes. Yeah. Well, again, we don't have our land to walk around, and we got a concrete.
That's what they put in.
That's the stop. That's again, it's the concrete and the concretizing of nature is essentially to shut off whatever synergistic vibrations and communications that the earth would have with you. Now, you don't know what they do with the concrete, especially in black communities. There's a different kind of concrete they use around black communities. And there's a whole different kind of energies that you got to watch when they start putting up parks in black communities. See, the thing is, we don't realize and understand that the new mind control has nothing to do with chips. It ain't even got nothing to do with the computers anymore. It's about genetically altering your instincts so that your instincts no longer seek the right food, the right companion, the right place to live, the right air to breathe, the right water to drink. You no longer understand and understand what is the vortex, the primordial, the archetypal vortex that created the human strain. They already know what that is. They already understand what that is, and they know that once they start fucking over the food and start genetically altering the food, they genetically alter your consciousness and thus your instinct so that they can program you with any shit that they want you to program with, they want programmed in with you. And that's why it is necessary for you to take this particular list with you everywhere you go shopping. Because these bastards are set up, the Beasthood is set up because in the next 2 generations, and they think 20 and 30 years in advance. Don't think that this shit is new here. All this little dumb shit they're giving you with the recorders and all this, oh man, I can put this in now and I can pipe up. The fucking internet was military. What the fuck you thought that was about? They're gonna set up the military, gonna give you something to play with. What kind of shit is that? They setting up the web because they understand that they got to make sure that the consciousness that's rising on this planet has a check and balance. And that check and balance is the web. Why the fuck you think they call it the web? Who the fuck you think the spider is? The idea is to make sure that you have no way to access the inner consciousness that is the reality, so that you now plug into the shit that is the virtual reality. So now you're dealing with Apple computer. You don't understand what Apple computer is. You're going right back to the beginning. It's Genesis. The whole new consciousness paradigm is here. You are plugged into fucking computers. They're telling you shit now. As a matter of fact, they got human engrams in the goddamn computers that's thinking. They can talk back to you. They can solve fucking problems. They already got the Navy. They already got special SEALs that they already have turned into cyborgs. This shit is real. They got people that's half machine and half people. And they're in the military right now. And when we go down there, when me and Bobby go down to the Gathering of the Masters, I'm going to drop all that shit about the new way of programming. The whole new 21st, 28th, 25th, 25th century mind control programming they got. This shit about chips and all that, that shit is passe. It's passe. So what we're going to do is let's have, hold on for a minute, yeah. We're going to have, one more person, go ahead.
Listen, I just want, I have one question. I am going to go through, looking for oranges that have seeds.
Yes.
And they don't have them.
Yeah, they got some oranges and seeds.
Health food store.
Where do you live, sister?
Oranges that have seeds and grapes that have seeds.
Where do you live, sister?
I live up here on 27th Street.
And tell us what you get. That blue-green algae.
Yeah, I can tell you where to get the blue-green algae. Midtown,
And on Broadway, from 72nd all the way down to 96th Street on Broadway.
in other words, the white neighborhood.
Saturdays on 14th Street at the farmer's market, every
Right.
Saturday.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this to you, like I said.
Blue-green algae.
Blue-green algae, okay. If you want to deal with the blue-green algae, you can come and see me afterwards. I don't want to put this out on the air because then they're going to shut that down. What I want to do is I want to let you know that the last time you were here, you saw about the fact that the brothers can help me out and do what they can. As far as compensation is concerned, if you feel your heart that you want to render a little bit more to compensate what the brothers give to me here when I do speak, it's all, happily just put it up here, you'll be graced and you'll be blessed for it. The other thing is, if you want to deal with the blue-green algae, I can put you on track with it, but you cannot just start taking it because it's live. You can take the blue-green algae, put it down, and it starts to grow. It's alive. All right, so it's a living component. So if your body's all fucked up and you've been sucking neck bones, don't try taking it immediately. You can't take it immediately. Because what it's going to do is going to start cleaning you out. It's going to go to the place that you need the most cleaning, and because of its pristine nature, whatever's wrong in your body is going to right it, and sometimes it does it traumatically. So let's take a 10-minute break. Be back in a minute. Someone had some questions they wanted to ask, and I told them to wait until the program began so that everyone could share the actual question and then the answer to come. Sister, are you there?
Yes, right here.
What question was that?
I was wondering if you could speak to us about nutritional supplements, specifically vitamins, because I take my vitamin supplements, and I think, of course, I take the ones that say specifically veggie cats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking I'm doing all the right things when I take, because I know I'm not getting all of my nutrients from my foods that
Right.
I eat.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm eating raw foods, if I'm steaming my vegetables, my greens,
Right.
my mustard greens, whatever. So I say, okay, let me balance that out.
Right.
And take my vitamins A, B, C, D, some garlic tabs, primrose oil, just, my EFAs. So I'll do that to supplement and to balance it out. So, how are you feeling about, in terms of MSG or other additives in our vitamins,
Mm-hmm.
in our supplements?
see this? Everything that you're looking for in all of the disparate names that you just gave is contained within one whole food. And if you can't get it in that whole food, other whole foods have them. The problem with vitamins are that they're actually what I would rather be termed devitalized substances. Vitamins essentially are the components of a devitalization process. They are the residuals of a devitalization process. To get a vitamin into a composite like vitamin C capsules, this tab, then essentially you have either cooked, boiled, broiled, just degenerated something in order to extract those quote-unquote vitamins, or what are actually defined under the microscope as a vitamin. You see, people who take herbs, for instance, when you take the herb itself that's on the leaf, and you take that leaf and put it up under a fire, I don't care what the scientists saw on that leaf when it began to map whatever molecular bonds while the leaf was still alive. Once the heat hits that leaf, the molecular bonds and all of the electron and atomic spin orientations that that particular scientist identified is dead now. There ain't nothing that the body can identify in something that's been overcooked or extracted. Now it becomes a compound, and a compound is essentially a drug. All vitamins are essentially compounds based upon them taking the so-called vitamin in their analog presence, in their devitalized presence, and then giving it back to you without the coupling links that created this apple. Whatever it is that this apple is created of, Spirit took the components from the ground, specialized it through the specific seed that had the information as to what it was, then titurated whatever was from the ground into this. They take this, boil it, take the residue, give it to you in a compound and put it back. It does not have the same identifying markers as this. Vitamins don't have identification markers because they're dead, they're byproducts. So when I say take blue-green algae, you have to take blue-green algae that has been processed in the least damaging manner. In other words, what do they do when they take it from the water? How do they maintain the biointegrity of this product so that when they ship it to you, it's at least 75 to 80% bioavailable? A vitamin is not bioavailable. It irritates and agitates and gives you residual compounds that the body acts upon but cannot interact with. See what I'm saying? There's a big difference by your body being stimulated by a non-vital substance that it acts upon. And there is a difference between something that's a nutrition that the body interacts with. If there are no recognizable components for your organic, intelligent body to interact with, it will not take it in as a nutrient. It will try to get rid of it as a stimulant, which is another drug. So now you sacrifice all of the resources that your lungs and all the different organs have to get rid of this substance. Meanwhile, you're getting rid of life force, and there's nothing that's coming back to put it back. You see what I'm saying? So vitamins, all them different things, they ain't no good unless you're deadly sick and your body cannot extract these nutrients from whole foods anymore, which is essentially what happens. We start eating all kinds of deadly foods, and the body becomes numb. So if you're a flesh eater, heavy flesh eater, if you're a processed sugar eater, if you're eating foods such as that, then your body has degenerated and become what is known as enervated. If your body is enervated, that means it cannot digest these whole foods because the substance that the nutrients are supposed to create in the form of digestive juices are weak. So your digestive juices become watered down, or they are not powerful enough to extract what this apple has. So what you have to do now is change the body's whole enzymic content, change the body's whole digestive components so that now it recognizes whole food and then extracts whole food. That's what people say, well, I tried vegetarianism, that shit just flushed right out of me when I shit. That's because your digestive juices were so weak based on the kind of dead food you was eating that you can't extract the nutrients from that live food. So until that live food creates living components in your enzyme, in your digestive enzymes. You can't take living components from life. You can only extract death. So when you eat death, you become like unto death. So what do you do with a dead body? You bury the shit. So what do you do with dead bodies? You take a fucking dead cow and you bury it in your stomach. So what do? You turn your fucking stomach into a grave. And there ain't no way for you to eat a fucking cow and then extract what the cow ate in the grass, break the cow down back into grass, and then have that as nutrients. It's bullshit.
Nothing comes to you rotten anyway.
That's it. And the thing is, see, what you don't understand is that meat eaters are eating vegetarians.
It's actually a brown.
Understand what I'm saying? Meat eaters eat vegetarians. So why don't you stop that bullshit? You can get your shit directly from what the cow be getting. A gorilla, check this, a gorilla, the strongest primate on the planet. You can take a truck tire, one of them big diesel truck tires, that motherfucker push it down when it's even blown up. A gorilla eats berries and shoots.
Kicks ass.
You try fucking with a gorilla. Fuck with a gorilla. You fuck with his berries. You fuck with his little shoots. But you see, you got to eat all these things because, again, they have trained you. This is slave diet. All this shit you eating is slave diet.
Soul food.
Soul food, what kind of soul? Maybe the bottom of your feet, but that's the only kind of soul you got. That shit is crazy. When people eat, and I'm not castigating anybody, you can go ahead and keep eating, you know, your chicken wings and shit, eat chitlins and all that. Go ahead. But if that's where you want to be, then that's fine. But you got to understand that what you put into your mouth, that's what creates who you are. And if you're eating life, you participate in life. And you see, the thing is, if you notice, most meat eaters got to sleep 15 and 20 hours. That's to tell you in the animals, when the lion hunts, motherfucking predator look good hunting down his food, he sleeps 15 fucking hours. But then he hunts the vegetarian. And that vegetarian eats all the time. But that vegetarian is alert, fast, quick. I'd rather be alert, fast, and quick and have my wits about me than be sleeping trying to catch up on my life. Because the shit that you're eating in your stomach is taking all your energy. When you eat heavy foods like meat, it takes all the blood from your head to put into your stomach to digest that shit. That's why you can't stay awake. That's why you can't stay awake. So what I'm saying to you is vitamins, essentially what you eat every day as a 3-course meal is a vitamin. So it ain't that you got to take little vitamins. The meals you eat is a vitamin. It is. See, when you start eating, we can't say what Africans are eating, what Americans are eating. We got to eat what we got to eat because we survive. But now there's a part where you got to say, well, shit, we survived long enough. We standing upright. I can even make a gun. I can buy me a gun. I can protect myself somewhat. I can do certain things. Now I got to start doing what my body used to do, what my organic template archetypic body used to do. And that is to seek out real whole foods and to find out what the Africans were eating, interdispersed with the so-called Native American, combine the two, and understand which one of the highest, which has the highest value. But we cannot just start eating what the white man keep putting on television. They got 90 billion served now. It used to be what? How much? 1 billion served? McDonald's got 90 fucking billion served. That's a 90 billion motherfuckers came in there eat that shit. And then when you heard Mad Cow, I thought that would be it. Good, we won. But niggas was lined up for Mad Cow. I don't understand that shit. And they started in Mad Cow at McDonald's, and these motherfuckers was selling the burgers 2 for 25 cents. Niggas was online. I mean, they came from the television. They talked about Mad Cow on the commercial. I mean, on the news. They talked about McDonald's on the commercial. They went and bought the McDonald's. They didn't listen to that shit. So I'm saying to you, vitamins.
They wanted to see how the Mad Cow felt.
Well, I'm telling you, the vitamin system, be very mindful of what you put in the vitamins. If it isn't a whole food, if it isn't a food, because the blue-green is a food, it's not a vitamin. So when you put the blue-green in water, if it don't start growing, then it ain't real. If you put the blue-green in the water and you cover it down in the dark and then you open it up and it's frothing and shit, that's live. That's what will happen inside of your stomach. It turns back alive. And when you got living things walking around inside of you that's going to give you life, shit, man, it becomes a thing where your sex life, source, the drive draws when you want, and you can control it even better. Your cycle becomes less, sisters. And you got to stop bleeding for anything to really start happening, period. The headaches, your ability to be patient, all of these things begin to come back when you start taking whole foods into your body. You don't begin to worry about shit no more. And I don't, like worrying is something that's going to speed up your solution. Bullshit. You got to get out of worry because worry detracts from your life to concentrate on the problem. And that's another thing. It stops you from going through the feelings that you got to cry at everything. Because that's a sickness in itself. They say that women, you know, cry. Well, that's what a woman does. Bullshit. If you go to Africa, you don't see women start boo-hooing at every fucking thing. That's bullshit. People of orthobiotic civilizations who have strong genes and integrity don't cry. Because crying is like bleeding. If you knew what was inside of tears, the nutrients that you leave inside of tears, you'll see that our Africans, women, the only reason we start dealing with this shit is women start crying is stressed out women. And the reason why that the Africans in those days weren't stressed out, or our ancient peoples, I'm going to say Africans, let's just say our ancient peoples were not stressed out at the time, is because the women knew that anything that had to do with stress, they handed to the man. The only stress your body was made to make was having a baby. And even then, there are hormones to protect you at every turn. But when you start fucking wanting to dunk a basketball, that's over. Nature says, I can't help you there. I got to start growing your mustache, and I got to start catch you up to where it is you want to go. And you're going to see all these man-like creatures because now they're playing football. They got 700 women in a pro league now playing football. Football! Hockey! Well, we know that. Wrestling, we're talking about impact sports that men play. And that's equality. That's bullshit. Now, any other questions? Yes, sister, real quick.
It seemed like that as far as my cycle, it started becoming more and more irregular as, I guess it is true about the consciousness. Now, I wanted to ask you, like, whenever it comes to, like, I'm in a cycle, which is just like the drops of blood, every 2, 3 times a year. Is that, what would you consider normal?
Normal?
Would you, yes.
Yeah.
What is natural for us as far as in our cycle? Because I no longer have that hemorrhaging like I had before.
All right, well, I tell you, there's 2 different ways to stop your cycle. But the thing is that people think that bleeding is natural.
Yes.
Now, I ask people, if you was taking a shit, women, and blood start coming out your ass, what would you think? Something was wrong, right? You start coughing up blood, would you say something's wrong? You start bleeding out your nose, something wrong? Your body does not create menstrual blood just to have a menstrual cycle. You sacrifice your blood. You hemorrhage. And it was an unnatural thing that happened based on the war that happened over 175,000 years ago that changed the programming of the genetic structure in the women, and she began to bleed. But I don't want to get into that long story. It's in the book. We went over it in Womb to Womb 1 and 2. It's normal for you to bleed, but it's not natural. And the reason why I say it's not natural, because all of the accompanying symptoms that go with it are not natural. Every symptom that goes along with your bleeding has to do with some sort of pathology. So that means that nature never intended that shit to happen in the first place. Some women say, well, I don't have hardly any kind of reactions to it. Watch what happens as you grow older. Because every time you bleed, you shed the lining of the uterus. And every time you shed the lining of the uterus, do you know that within a year, you bleed enough blood, some women bleed enough blood to create a whole human being. Now, there is no thing that is natural that bleeds. No other animal, no other primate, no other female living bleeds except the human female. No other human being. But you guess what happens, though? They took a whole school of chimpanzees. And these chimpanzees that were living in the wilds, they studied them in the wilds, and they saw them, and they were watching them do their shit. Said that the females didn't bleed. No homosexuality.
Thank you.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. Nothing of what you call your civilized diseases. They took the whole compound of those and brought them into a zoo study environment, started feeding them cornflakes, started feeding them the shit that they would feed natural animals in the zoos and other kind of crap. In one generation, the females began bleeding. Now, I don't say you gotta go check a chimp and say, okay, well, if this shit happens to the chimp, you know, you might check yourself. But check out what happened. As soon as they brought that chimp from its natural environment into this artificial environment, it started to bleed. The females started to bleed, and then the next generation, they began to notice that the males were masturbating, as well as homosexuality. They were trying to mount each other. Now, given the foods that they gave this animal, which were the same foods they gave to humans, what does that tell you? So I'm saying to you that the bleeding of a woman, any loss of blood, the ancestors always told you, the great ancestors always told you, that any loss of blood was detrimental to the body. That's why the women always built these huts. So when they bled once, twice, or 3 times in the year, they would take the women to these huts, and the women could not stand straight up because standing straight up would cause gravity problems. And they would always be bent, and they would stay in there until they were well. Only the white woman does not take seriously the menstrual cycle. All women from the dark races always took this particular time of the year as a time of sickness. That's why they always dealt with it as a healing ceremony. You don't deal with healing ceremonies unless you're sick. Pardon me. So I'm saying to you that the sickness that women are going through now has become normal, whereas in the earliest part it was abnormal and unnatural. Now because every woman does it, because all the women are exposed to this sickness, now it's normal. But they think that it's normal, but it's not normal. It does not happen. Like I said, when Columbus and the rest of these bastards came on this land and they began to deal with their little reckoning and trying to find out what was happening, they used to find out that the women bled only 2 to 3 times in a year. They didn't ride horses. They wondered why the women didn't ride horses. Because when you straddle and you got your pussy on leather, they used to think the white women were out of their minds straddling shit like that with that horse bouncing up against their shit like that.
It was.
And yeah. And you have to understand too, when they used to go into the courts,